Hello everybody, welcome to another Raid Shadow Legends video. Ladies and gentlemen, the Christmas Fusion is live. So today we're gonna make a quick review on the Fusion Champion, the epics that are used for the Fusion, talking about where exactly in the game are viable, can they help you to beat any sort of content, no matter if you're a new player, mid-game player, or end-game player. So if you check right here in news, guys, we have the Festive Fusion event. They are telling us all about the events we're going to have in the upcoming weeks, how to prepare to actually be able to put our hand on every single champion that we have from here. So we have Baltus, Draglord, available from the champion training event from December 18 to 25, or it can be fused for these 4 specific rares right here. Then we have Alaric the Hooded, again available from Summon Rush, December 25 to 29, or fused from these rare champions here. We have Gerhard the Stone, available from Champion Chase Tournament. So we have 2 summoning events to put our hand on epic champions, guys, if we don't fuse them from the rares, which is going to be a lot of work to actually fuse them from rares. Ragnar Gold Gleam, fused from these 4 champions. We cannot get it from any other event. It needs to be a fusion. So we have all these rares. Stockpile on potions, guys. Stockpile on chickens. Be ready to actually grind all these fusions, because it will be quite a bit of work. It will require quite a bit of an investment, to say like this. Now, talking about the actual champion, right? Let's have a quick look at the new champion that we're getting, guys. The legendary magic champion support from the High Elves. Pyxniel. I'm not really sure exactly how you say her name, but she does look dope. Like, it looks amazing as a champion. Really nice. I really like it. But then let's have a look at the skills and total stats. Total stats, she has pretty decent total stats. 18k HP, almost 19k, 1k attack, 1.2k defense, 103 speed, just regular crit rate, crit damage, 30 resistance, 20 accuracy. Now, will this champion be able to help you progress in game? Will be able to help you beat the hard mode Doom Tower if you're looking to do that with it? Is it really worth it to fuse it if you're an endgame player or a newbie, to say like this? So I'm an endgame player. I honestly tell you, this champion won't help me anywhere. I really see nothing that this champion can do for me by bringing it to any team. So we have the A1 Mistress of Glamours. Attacks one enemy, has a 30% chance of placing a Veil buff on a random ally for 1 turn. Cannot place the Veil buff on this champion. So 50% fully booked to place a Veil on a random ally. Decent, nothing too crazy there. Then we have the A2 on 3-turn cooldown, fully booked. Places a 60% increased defense buff and a 15% continuous heal buff on all allies for 2 turns. Then attacks all enemies under freeze debuffs. Places a 25% weaken debuff for 2 turns on all enemies under freeze debuffs. So it's kind of dependable here to get a weaken if the enemy team is frozen or no. It might work in a nice combo with another champion. Tormin, for example, we had it last year for a Christmas fusion. Void champion, much better fusion than what we have this year. 2 years ago we had Sir Nicholas for Christmas fusion. Much better fusion than what we have this year. So increased defense on 3-turn cooldown, continuous heal on your team. Yeah, sounds fun. And attacks all enemies under freeze, if you have freeze on anyone. If nobody else is frozen, will just buff your team, and that's about it. Then the A3 on 4-turn cooldown, fully booked, attacks 5 times at random. So fully booked, each hit has a 50% chance of placing a freeze debuff for 1 turn. Has a 100% chance of placing a freeze debuff on enemies that receive 2 hits. So this kind of feels like, don't book me. Don't book me, because you'll be getting to a 100% chance if 2 hits they're gonna go on a 1 ally. So it guarantees you that it freezes 1 champion as long as you have the right accuracy and it's not a weak hit on a 4th champion, for example. But rather than that, it does require how many books this skill? 3, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18 books. 18 legendary books to book this average legendary champion, ladies and gentlemen. 18 books is a lot of books. You can definitely find a better use for them than invest them in this champion. That's my own opinion. I'll let you decide for your own. If you need a champion on your account, we're going to talk in a bit if it's good anywhere specifically. Then we have the passive. Whenever an enemy places a freeze debuff on an ally, has a 20% chance, fully booked, a 35% chance of stealing the freeze debuff and placing it on this champion instead. Has a 25% chance, 40% chance fully booked of filling this champion's turn meter by 25% every time they receive a freeze debuff. Has a 50% chance fully booked or 35% not booked chance of removing any freeze debuffs from this champion at the start of every turn. If there are multiple champions in the team with this skill, only one will activate. Now, correct me if I'm wrong, guys. There is no other legendary champion in the game to require 18 legendary books to be fully booked. This is the highest requirement of books I've ever seen on a champion. I know Breckus has a 16. Other Minaya, I think she has around 16. But 18 books is a bit way over the top for an average legendary champion. Nothing guarantees you anything here. The only good thing about this champion is bringing in that increased defense and continuous heal, which is guaranteed on 3-turn cooldown. So that makes it viable to be used in more parts in the game. Freeze. Nobody really goes for freeze anymore unless you're a newcomer to the game. You still don't have immunity gear, you don't have many cleansers. You're not really understanding the game at its best, to say like this. Endgame players, they won't be having a use for this champion, honestly. Just because everything is so low on percentages, chances to actually do something, you know. 30% chance here, 25 there, 50 there. It makes it look like the champion that does a lot of stuff with all this wall of text here, but honestly, it just doesn't. Now, regarding the Doom Tower, we do have a few Tormins on the waves, another couple of champions that place freeze. But rather than that, this champion won't be good against the boss. It cannot transfer the freeze on the boss because it's immune to it. All of the bosses in the Doom Tower. Same with all the bosses in dungeons. So it looks like an arena champion with kind of zero use for arena, to say like this. Of course, I'm talking from an endgame perspective here, guys. If you're a newbie, mid-game player, you might be finding a bit of a use for her to help you in some parts of the content in the game. A CC a bit on the waves for the Doom Tower if you don't have anyone else better. But honestly, rather than investing 18 books in this champion to get all the skills up, with that money, man, you're buying what? $200? Go buy energy, farm Fire Knight, get some stun sets, and you'll be having a better control on all the waves in the Doom Tower or wherever you want to do it. Honestly, that's my advice. 18 books, let me count again, maybe I got it wrong. 6, 8, 7, that's 15, 18 books. I'm in shock. I haven't checked it before. I literally just checked it right now. I had no idea that it requires 18 books. That's a lot though. But if you want to fuse it, go for it. I will fuse it. She looks dope. I just want to have the champion as a collection. She's going to make my vault look amazing with this awesome looks. But rather than that, probably I don't think I'll be using her in any sort of content. I will be six-starring her for you guys to show her in action and stuff like that. But honestly, I'm not going to book her. I can tell you that from now. I will not waste 18 books in this champion. That's my opinion. Even when I'm going to showcase it to you guys, it's going to be unbooked. 18 books cost a lot of money and it's just not worth it. You're not getting anything back from it. Now, talking about the rest of champions. Epic champions, for example. Some of them, they kind of look much better. So actually, let's go directly in the index so we can see their total stats, how they look like. So I think we have 1 and 2 right here that's used for the fusion. So we have Gerhard the Stone. Base stats 12k HP, 1.3k attack, 1k defense, 101 speed. The HP is extremely low for an epic champion, even though he's an attack. It still doesn't matter. 12k is pretty low. We have his A1. Attacks one enemy. Has a 25% chance fully booked of placing a stun debuff for 1 turn. Has a 50% chance of placing a stun debuff for 1 turn instead if the target has more than 75% turn meter. So that increases a bit higher if you're attacking the right enemy that has more turn meter. And it requires 6 books in his A1. Then we have his A2 on 3-turn cooldown fully booked, places a 30% increased crit rate buff and a 30% increased crit damage buff on this champion for 2 turns, then attacks one enemy, will ignore 25% of the target's defense, will ignore 50% of the target's defense instead if the target is under an increased defense buff. 5 more books here, so that makes it 11 so far. Single target hitter. I'm not sure how good the multipliers will be on him. If he has good multipliers, he can deal some damage with the increased crit rate, increased crit damage, and ignoring defense is a pretty solid kit on paper at least, but it's all about the multipliers honestly. So 11 books there, 13 books with the passive, immune to fear, true fear, freeze, provoke, sleep, and stun debuffs. That's a fairly nice passive. I wish we would have this passive on a nice AoE nuker. That would change so much in Arena. Then we have his aura increases ally resistance in Doom Tower battles by 50. So talking about these guys, Doom Tower, I know the first spreadsheet we've seen from the data mine, it showed like low accuracy and resistance on all the waves and bosses on the hard mode, but it actually changed. Like yesterday when I was doing my Doom Tower, I was getting resisted non-stop with 250 accuracy. So the resistance on them will be 300, accuracy 250. So on some places you will have to actually run a fairly decent amount of resistance, and of course you need decent amount of accuracy. Then we have our second here, Alaric the Hooded. Looks pretty nice. Base stats we have, so he's an attack champion, sorry. Base stats 15k HP, more likely higher attack than the previous but a bit lower defense, 1.4k attack, 793 defense, 98 speed. Attacks one enemy, has a 30% chance, 50% chance fully booked, of decreasing the target's turn meter by 7.5%. Decreases the turn meter by a further 3% for each buff on the target. So it's a bit of turn meter decrease, nothing too crazy in here. Not good for the Fire Knight either. And we need 5 books there. We have his A2 with 5 more books, so that brings us up to 10 already. On 3-turn cooldown fully booked, attacks one enemy, has a 50% chance of removing 2 random buffs from the targets before attacking. Has a 75% chance of stealing 2 random buffs instead if the target has 4 or more buffs. So that goes up to 100%, 75% respectively if you fully book the champion. Again, single hitter, nothing too interesting there. Then we have his A3 on 4-turn cooldown fully booked, so that brings us up to what, 14 books so far? Yeah, so we have 14 books for this champion. Attacks all enemies, has a 100% chance of placing a 50% decrease attack debuff and a 50% decrease accuracy debuff on all enemies for 2 turns. That's on a 4-turn cooldown. Now I know a lot of you guys will be like, whoa, AoE decrease attack sounds great, decrease accuracy sounds great. It can be useful, how I said, on the waves, etc. on the Doom Tower at the moment to decrease the accuracy, because they will have pretty high accuracy, but we have so many other champions that do AoE decrease attack now. Like, it's nothing special about this champion. I wouldn't go ham to try to fuse him unless you're a new player, you have no attack down, and this is your only chance of getting it. Go for it, but keep in mind is on a 4-turn cooldown. Then we have the passive, increase ally attack in faction creeps by 29%. Right, so we covered the first 2 epics. I think the next one might be barbarians. No, that's not the one. We have, I know we have an undead one, so let's check that out. And the other one is dwarves actually. So we have Baltus Draglord. Defense champion, base stats 18k HP, 800 attack, 1.2k defense, 97 speed. This one looks dope as well. I like the shields, the glowing on the shields looks awesome. His A1 shield strike attacks one enemy, has a 30% chance of placing a 50% decrease attack debuff for 2 turns. Goes up to 40% fully booked, 4 books in his A1. And here we go, 6 books on his A2, that brings us up to 10. On 3-turn cooldown fully booked, attacks all enemies, has a 100% chance of placing a 30% decrease crit rate debuff for 2 turns. Now this is a nice a nice debuff. Decrease the crit rate on arena can be crucial. It's gonna be a huge debuff for the enemy team, so that can win you a fight. That's a pretty good skill, I like it. Then we have his A3, Driven to Slaughter on 4-turn cooldown, fully booked. Attacks one enemy, has a 100% chance of placing a provoke debuff for 2 turns. So this requires 15 epic books, guys. Also heals this champion by 20% of their max HP. Decent. Is a defense champion, you won't be tanking like 100k HP, so this 20% is not going to be as huge as you think. Then we have his passive, and enhanced shields or something like that. Seems like I lost my my skills there. Reflects 30% of the damage this champion receives back to the attacker. Damage reflect is not bad, 30% makes it fairly decent. Then that could be nice to run on the Fire Knight. It's a single target hitter, but with his passive will make him practically deal twice the damage on the boss when he attacks. So it's not that bad. Passive increases ally defense infection crypts by 30%. So out of the 3 so far, I think this one is the most interesting out of the epics. Let's have a quick look at the last one. Do we have any of the epics that's really interesting, that we all want to fuse him rather than go for the legendary champion? So we have Rugnor Gold Gleam. Base stats 16k HP, he's an attack champion, he has a fairly good amount of HP, 1.4k attack, 782 defense, 99 speed, 15 crit rate, 60 crit damage. Attacks one enemy, has a 60% chance of placing a leech debuff for 2 turns. So that's fully booked, 4 books for that. A2, on 3-turn cooldown, fully booked. Sacrifices HP equal to 15% of this champion's max HP, then fills this champion turn meter by 75% and places a shield buff on this champion equal to 20% of their max HP for 3 turns. The shield buff cannot be removed. So he's placing a shield equal to 20% of their max HP for 3 turns. The shield cannot be removed, but it can be broken. So a Madame series will not remove this shield, for example. The HP sacrifice will happen even if this kills this champion and will ignore shield and block damage buffs. So if you have a block damage on him, if you have a shield buff on him, will ignore it if he sacrifices the HP more than he should and is gonna kill him, even if you have the shield. So keep that in mind as well. It sounds like a pretty dangerous thing to do if he's low on HP and you're gonna use this skill and you have under 15% HP, he's gonna die. The only way to keep him alive seems like is with unkillable. It doesn't say that it ignores unkillable here. Then we have his passive. Decreases the cooldown of this champion's Gleam of Avarice skill by 1 turn every time this champion loses 15% HP. So that will bring it on a lower cooldown here. Rather than 4, it's gonna go down to... Oh, actually, wait. We missed one skill, guys. Sorry. So, places a 50% increased attack buff on this champion for 2 turns. Then attacks one enemy. Has a 75% chance, fully booked, 100% chance of placing a 25% weakened debuff on the target for 2 turns. Also has a 100% chance of placing a 60% decreased defense debuff on the target for 2 turns before attacking. So that's fully booked, okay? So weaken and defense down. Sounds pretty good on a 4-turn cooldown. The only thing that can throw him out is this skill right here. So as long as the AI considers, like the same with Frozen Banshee, not to use this A2 on the clan boss, that will be great. But if this skill will be used on our own clan boss, it's not going to be as great. It's going to take a lot of tuning to be made. And early on, he won't be boosting the turn meter because he might not be losing 15% of the HP. Then he has a super low defense, so that doesn't make him as viable for clan boss. It's pretty much the same like Fange. He has a super low base defense. So we have 1 book here. We have 5 in total, and we have 6, 11 books, no books in the passive. So let's go back to the passive. Decreases the cooldown of this champion's Gleam of a various skill by 1 turn every time this champion loses 15% HP. The HP loss is accumulated and tracked over multiple turns, attacks or hits, and is not affected by healing or other HP increases. So that means that, how I just said before, it won't work because you won't be getting enough damage. This will actually keep account of all the damage he takes. Once he reaches that 15%, is gonna decrease the cooldown. So that will happen in 3 turns on the clan boss as well, which is pretty good. It's gonna bring you weaken and defense down on his A3. But he doesn't look insane. He looks decent. So if you don't have decreased defense, decreased weaken, he can be good. So it's kind of replacement for Fane from the previous fusion, which was, Fane was much better honestly because of her whole kit overall. But these are the champions we're having for the fusion, guys. Let me know your thoughts as well. You have high hopes for any of these champions to help you beat any sort of the content. Those were my thoughts on the legendary champion. Honestly, she's not amazing. She won't be changing your account. She won't be changing any meta in the game. Especially if your end game, she'll kind of be useless for you. But new game, mid game, she might be pretty decent in some parts in the game. But how I said, not on bosses. On some of the waves, she can help you to CC. But then stun set, 2 stun sets equal one of these champion. So let me know your thoughts in the comments down below, guys. Appreciate you all guys watching. I will see you all soon on another video, but in the meantime, don't forget to smash that like, subscribe, turn on notifications to see when we upload next, and I'll see you all soon. Peace out.